Okay, you should hear me now. My apologies. YouTube had no audio, but I'm here live on YouTube and on Facebook. The reason why I've had some, I'm in an Airbnb in Santa Barbara, and I tried to record a podcast yesterday and was unable to do so. So I'm going to try again tomorrow, but in the process of getting everything working, had to change some settings, and that's why we lost the audio. But I think we're back. Yay! Welcome, Gerbot. Welcome, Brandy. You got to change that story about yourself. You are no longer the late one. You are the prompt one, making punctuality important to you when there's so much love to be had. I think that's a good thing. I feel like, I wonder if it's the bandwidth or other settings that is making it jerky. For me, at least, it's jerky on YouTube. I'm not sure. Am I moving smoothly to you? If you were here live, would love to hear from you. Just leave a comment. Or if you're watching this recording, same thing. Leave a comment so that we can see you, hear you, know that we are collectively having an experience. We are practicing this wonderful benefit of the digital tools, which is that we can share experiences even though we are geographically separated. It doesn't matter where our feet are. It matters where our heart is. And we can share this experience. So the basic idea behind the Love Morning is a reminder that we're not alone. It is a nudge for us to be aware that we are entering into this day, and there is a passive way that we can do the day, which is just reacting to the stimulus and the questions and there's the request. And then there is the active way where we go, who and what and how am I going to be in this day? I am going to be one who seeks connection. I'm going to be one who looks for opportunities to do little acts of kindness. I'm going to be one who is present. I'm going to be one who is doing discerning and checking in if am I being authentic. And I'm going to look for things that I'm grateful for. I'm going to notice things I'm grateful for. And I'm going to add one more today because it is relevant to what I want to touch upon. Is I am going to notice when I'm dysregulated. I am going to be aware of how I'm feeling and check in when I get triggered, when I get dysregulated, and acknowledge, listen, and do what I need to do to come back to sanity. So I invite you to make an intentional path forward in this day as to who you are going to be. And it's so much easier when we do it as a group. Welcome, Michelle. Good morning to you. Did you see any of the Pink Heart designs that I made? I actually just ordered some sample stickers. And good morning, Dawn. Is authenticity available, says Chris. Well, authenticity is. Now, do we have barriers to our own authenticity? Yes, tons of them. A lifetime of acculturation and teachings and status quo pressures. Authenticity is removing those things and simply allowing. So I do think it's available. So, Gerbot's saying that's always a trick, being able to recognize when you're in a bad headspace. And that's what, so I had an experience yesterday. I had 3 experiences yesterday. And I woke up this morning feeling like, hey, I think I did better yesterday than I've ever done before in becoming aware of when I was off kilter, when I was dysregulated, and I snapped back. Well, not snapped, maybe that's the wrong word. I found my way back much quicker than I would have the me of 6 months ago. And a big part because I was checking in and noticing and becoming aware, oh, I am not feeling the way I like to feel right now, and I know I have options. So I was going to share those examples. A beautiful city, and I had things I wanted to do on the computer, and so while my travel partner had other work to be done in another part of the city. So I was working at the Airbnb, had some internet issues, so I had trouble, couldn't record the podcast, got stuck here and there, and then so as the time was coming where I was going to have to pick them up soon, I realized that I had not really taken advantage of being in this beautiful city. And I also hadn't been as productive as I wanted because of the internet. And I just started to feel like, then I started to make stories and hear the stories of like, why didn't you go and explore? Why didn't you take advantage of the situation? And then it kind of creeps into like, you never do. You're always staying on the computer when you could have gone out and done that. And I just started to feel like, and I started to just feel not so good, and started to kind of just feel snippy and down on myself and frustrated. And why didn't I, as soon as the computer stopped working, why didn't I just go out and visit something? And I was trying to look up things online to see, and the internet wasn't working. So I'm just in this space, and as I'm going to pick up my travel partner, I'm in the car and I'm thinking about the things, how I'm feeling, and I'm starting noticing like this trip has been so awesome and I felt so good. I don't feel good now, and I started to hear the things that I wanted to share, which were downer things. And so then I was like, wait, I know intellectually I don't have to stay here. I can decide that this day is going to start fresh right now. And even knowing that, I was like, but. And then I pulled around a corner, and there's this beautiful hillside and mountains in the background in Santa Barbara, and I just went like, and it was, and partially it was like, I know I'm going to pick up this person, and I can bring down this next chapter of the day, or I can try to start fresh. And I saw the mountain. I was aware of it. I was aware that I was dysregulated, and I started doing heavy breathing, trying to just change my state as I was driving. Not heavy breathing enough that I might pass out while driving. I figured that would be a bad idea. Although that certainly would give me a whole another cloud of things to think about. Assuming I was conscious after the wreck. In any case, by the time I arrived, I was feeling like out of the funky feeling. And I was able to later acknowledge what had happened during the day. But I didn't start my afternoon with a story about my morning so that carried me into the afternoon. And I was like, all right. And I felt really good. I recognized it and I pulled out of it. And I'll say a few good mornings and then tell you the second one, which is the harder one. Good morning, Natasha. I'm in Santa Barbara right now. Can you tell how pretty it is? Oh, and Gerbot has a great saying for that. Belief makes real. Your reality is completely dependent on your attitude. Ain't that the truth? Brandy saying, isn't it crazy cool how simply consciously directing your awareness can completely shift your reality? I know, and still it's so hard sometimes. I know for me, if I get into a groove, because the part of my brain that is dysregulated is the one that's in charge, and trying to say hey, you that's in charge, and it's all fired up, will you step away from the wheel? And it's fuck you, I have got the wheel right now. So the other thing that happened was yesterday evening, I was tagged in a post in a Facebook Burning Man group that I don't normally frequent. It's got 130,000 members. And it was a long 100-comment thread about consent. And in a comment, someone had made a post where they linked to a video of mine about consent, and then they described kind of what a hypocrite I was, because that there was a consent violation at my camp years ago, and I dismissed the victim, and whether or not questionable if I was responsible for it, but for having someone getting dosed at my camp. And I just like instantly just went like, and there's there's a picture of me posted in this comment and call out to me personally, and I know exactly what they're talking about, because this nightmare started in 2017 when a woman started stalking me. And after a year, first, it's a long story, started at Burning Man, or before Burning Man. I encouraged our relationship before Burning Man via a correspondence. At Burning Man, she was too close, ended up having a confrontation where she slapped me in the face in my RV, and then emailed me every day for a year. At the end of the year, she started to change her story and said that, well, the reason why she was so weird in my RV was because someone had drugged her at my camp. And so then I still refused. I didn't reply to an email for 2 years, even though she was mailing me every day. And then she started messaging everybody she started posting about me, and then when those were removed, she would private message people in Facebook groups that had to do with Burning Man and just telling them what happened. And then 2 years later at the burn in 2019, as I'm going around the burn, people come up to me, friends of mine, are like, hey, I've been hearing some bad stuff about Pink Heart. And they would tell me, and I'm like, oh my God, was it this woman? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, holy shit. So then 2 years later, I finally, after like trying not to put any fuel on the fire, 2 years later, I publicly said, look, this is what's happening. At this point, how many people have heard the rumors that are going to hear my explanation? Probably none. So then apparently now it's 2017, 19, 20, another 2 years, and somebody who heard the rumor, I don't know how long ago they heard the rumor, but who remembered the rumor, has been stewing on what a hypocrite on and posted publicly. And so then I come in and I respond, and first they didn't approve my response. So I'm just sitting there stewing in the fact that how many people are looking at this thread, more people are hearing this story. And it's hard because I've already gone through this several times where I get triggered, and then I calm down, and then I acknowledge like this is an issue. Consciousness rape is a problem at Burning Man. People are being dosed non-consensually. I don't want to minimize that. However, and I don't know for certain what happened, but what I do know with confidence is that this person's testimony is not to be trusted. And I have hundreds of emails where her story is different, her story changes, her delusional ideas about our relationship are I've actually had to have investigation. She made a complaint to Burning Man, said, I don't want to do a criminal complaint. When they asked her, do you want to file charges? She said, no. Why does she not want to file charges? Because she's lying. But she did want to file it with Burning Man, so that I was forced to go through an investigation. When I publicly made a post documenting all the things she made a complaint to my host and said that she was being defamed. And so they took down my public defense of myself. Anyway, so that happened, and I am like, and so then I while I'm waiting for my response to be approved, I messaged the person who made the comment, and I said, hey, and they were kind of like being proud of myself. This is how you do it. You call people out. And I was like, well, I think how you do it is you assume good intent and you ask questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions and happy to, get in a Facebook Live with the accuser and talk this through. You can be the moderator. I'm glad to be a Facebook go live right now with you and talk about this. Like I have nothing to hide. And I feel like you started with an accusation, and the way that our culture works, most people are just going to see the accusation and assume it's true. And so now you have, definitely dragged me into this thing. And so in the conversation with this person who is a self-admitted troll, who said, actually, I identify as a trickster. I'm like, and this is my work. I'm like, this is your work. And so I got stirred up. I shot back and I was like, well, you have, and I kind of said some things telling them how much they had made my day worse. And I said it in a way that I wanted to make them feel bad. And then I was like noticing how dysregulated I was. I noticed that I tried to hurt this person. I wanted to make them feel bad. And I kind of checked back in. And I was like, okay, I don't like how I'm feeling. I'm trying to use this as an opportunity to work on my peace coming from within. And I know that you are in pursuit of truth, as am I. And I wish you well. Meanwhile, while I'm in that conversation, before that ended, now I'm in this Facebook group that I'm normally never in, and I see a post where I see the thing that's written. Someone was being a little aggressive in a rule that's not really a rule at Burning Man, and so I responded, actually, that's not a policy. And the person wrote back to me like, thanks for mansplaining me, and I was like, now I'm like totally triggered again. And I was like, because one of my pet peeves is when people become over enforcers at Burning Man, because people they're like, you have feathers, fire, and they like get angry and they attack people who have a feather on their costume. Like, the rule is not anti-feathers. There is no feather policy. There's a no moot policy. So if you have loose feathers, or if you have a cheap boa, that's problematic. If you craft an incredible costume and you have your feathers secured, that is not against the rules. So don't attack everyone with feathers. Don't attack people who are taking pictures in their beautiful costumes because you think they're an Instagrammer and you are going to judge them and attack them. Like, it's a real problem at Burning Man where people, they think that they are defending the community and they attack and they add poison in the attempt to like fix the good vibe by adding venom. That's not how it works. So clearly I'm dysregulated right now. I get it. It irks me. And so that's how I got into this. Then I got attacked for mansplaining. And so now I'm like, so I message this person privately and I say, hey, can we get on common ground here? They explained their intention of acculturation. And at this point, I'm now working on my regulation, and I realize I don't want to fight. I don't care enough about any of this to get in this state. And so I say, I'm going to delete all of my comments. I'm sorry that I interrupted. I see that you're trying to help people and trying to steer people in the right way. I explained my pet peeve. They wrote back and they understood where I was coming from. And so it was like, okay. So by the end of the day, I was like, okay, I've let go. And 3 times during that day, I was in a state that I was not feeling like I was in my right mind. I was out of balance. And each time, I was able to find my way back. I'm getting better at this humaning thing. Good job, John. Good job. Natasha saying, is passion always dysregulation? That's a great question, and I'm not enough of a scholar of the topic to know the answer to that. But that's a good question. Can you be? That's a good question. I don't know the answer. Thank you, Jim. This morning practice and all the practices of the last 4 months have really been helping me. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Gerbot. Gerbot saying, rumor is the currency of the playa. Yeah, boy. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, Brandy saying, because I did not want to put any fuel on the fire. And then 2 years later, when even with no fuel, it still was raging and it ended up affecting my life, my campmates, then I talked about it publicly in the hopes that that did some repair to, and my partner here was asking, what what are you afraid of? Like, what is the fear here? And it was a good exercise because I'm like, my reputation, what is the pain in 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 this experience? It's not that this person is telling, it's not that this one person has this perspective of me. It's that in the telling of other people and knowing that there are people that I don't know that have this perception of me based on a non-truth. And but it also came back to something that we've been talking about, which is that you if there's no risk of me judging myself, then others' judgment, I can be impervious to others' judgment. And so I think that's why I was able to come back so quickly, is partially because I know that I am not guilty of any of the accusations. And so from that place, I know I can find a truth, a centeredness that the external world cannot topple, cannot knock me off. At least I hope so. Brandy says, I actually told my therapist about these get-togethers. I'm grateful to have it. Me too. I'm live on Facebook and YouTube in case you hear me talking to somebody that you don't see their name. Natasha saying, I appreciate when I can catch you talking about these things. Thanks, Natasha. And I appreciate seeing your gorgeous zucchini. And that's not code, people. I saw the fruits of your farming labors in a Facebook post this morning, I believe. I also wanted to share, I'm grateful for that the opportunities yesterday to practice, and I'm grateful that I was able to baseline so quickly, and the experiences won't always be so fruitful. And quite honestly, like if I woke up today and the Facebook thread was filled with people adding to this conversation about what a hypocrite I was, then I don't think I would be as looking back on this experience as such a positive learning one. Not that I'm still bummed because every time an accusation is made public, there's more people that see that than see the explanation. So that is it's still a bummer. Carolyn's saying, it's so sad when a gentle spirit gets persecuted because a broken person sees them as prey. I've never felt anything but safe around you. Thank you, Carolyn. And I think that's part of the exercise for me, is to check in. Is there any truth to the accusations? And really, that is something that I had to do some work with in the beginning of this experience. When the stalking began, I was trying to figure out, like, did I do something? Did I mislead this person? And I would go back through the messages and I was go, oh, wait a minute. No, I did not. And they came to these conclusions about our connection and our soulmates and our things like that were just like, this is not. But they accused me of gaslighting them, and they accused. Then accusation. That was the first accusation, and then a year later it became, your camp drugged me. But initially it was really, it messed with my head. Like, am I the bad guy in this situation? Did I? Because the story she's telling everyone is that I was just this woman that was hurt and needed help, and I dismissed her and was cruel and blamed the victim. It's like, oh my God, did I? I mean, I don't want to dismiss that accusation without questioning it, because the way our minds work is we are not always aware of what's happening. We have a bias. We have a perspective. We see evidence for what we're looking for. So, have I been blind to possible wrongdoings that I inadvertently did? And that messed with my head. But I'm pretty at peace now with knowing that this is that there's mental illness at the heart of this suffering, not my mental illness. Natasha's saying my zooks are very sexy. That'd be a good bumper sticker. Natasha's saying it sucks to come from the position of feeling like you have to defend yourself. Yes, I mean it's also a good exercise. Like, do I need to defend myself? I think about A Course in Miracles says, "In my defenselessness, my safety lies," which is kind of like the story of Aslan, the lion in the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe series, when he surrenders to his aggressors and allows them to shave him, humiliate him, and crucify him, and then he comes back powerful enough to avoid being crucified? No, but he surrendered and did not defend himself, and showed, they forgive them. They know not what they do. So there is a very evolved spiritual path of turning the other cheek and not defending, and that is that is such a deeper spiritual level and practice than I think we understand or we really give credit to. And I work on it, but it's hard not to feel the twinges of wanting to defend oneself. Natasha's saying it messed with your head because you give a fuck. Yes. Exactly, Natasha. Aslan is Jesus. Yes. Exactly. And feel free to accuse me of comparing myself to Jesus. Hopefully you got in that comparison that I am clear that I fell short. Chris saying, it just is a certain way. That's the whole nature of opinions. Hello, Abigail. Saying, I'm grateful I caught you live. I usually end up watching them afterwards. I love listening to you talk about these things while I'm working. It helps me slow down in my own life. Wonderful, Abigail. And yay, good to see you today here. I love you. Hope you're having a beautiful Tuesday so far. Do you see my eyes dart to the corner there as I had to check, like, wait, what day is today? Tuesday. That's right. Yeah, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. There's so much in that. And another good person in that classroom is you of something or calls you a name or attacks you. You think it through and see, is there any part of that could be true? And then you acknowledge it. So in this situation, it'd be like, you're a hypocrite. I could say, yes, in some ways, I definitely am a hypocrite. I can see that. Bam! That's a powerful tool. Try that next time when you're trying to feel like you want to. I'm not. Yes, I can see how in some way I'm being unfair in this situation. Yes. There are times when I am not a good listener. Boom. Let's bug and head off into our day. Do some of these things. Do the best I can with what I got in this moment, which is what we're all doing. This is a daily Love Morning broadcast. If you are trying to figure out what the heck is happening here. It's live on Facebook and YouTube at this time. And it is a chance for us to remind ourselves who we have the opportunity to be today. One who connects, one who shows kindness, one who is working on our growth, become noticing when we are dysregulated and not acting from our highest self, supporting others as they are going through their growth experiences. When people show the courage to be authentic and to be courageous and to be creative, giving them an indication, saying something, letting them know that we see them. Have you ever felt that? Someone gives you a little stranger a compliment, tells you something about your style or notices something that you do and says, nice job there. Like, the effort versus impact is so huge. And I think that's kind of the big goal of being a love ambassador, is that we have access to this inventory of gifts in terms of our attention that we don't fully realize. We don't realize how much we have to change people and change the world through the way we set our attention and the words that we say and the gestures and the little tiny attentions of eye contact and little words, little gestures, little kindnesses. So I'm going to practice that today, and I encourage you to do the same. So wherever you are in this moment, let's give ourselves a big squeeze, a hug, acknowledge we're doing the best we can in this moment with what we got. Sometimes our best is better than other times. But in this moment, we're grateful for these bodies, for these opportunities, for this path that we're on of growth, and for all the people that are on their own paths of growth that are so similar and so intertwined with ours. Let's sink into the unity, the oneness of this human experience we're all having, taking a deep breath in and squeezing, feeling us squeezing you as you squeeze us. Thank you for being here for this love morning. Have a beautiful day.